questions tonight about an Army combat brigade being trained to deal with civil disturbances in the United States. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 generally prohibits federal uniformed services from carrying out domestic law enforcement duties, except in cases expressly authorized by the Constitution or an act of Congress. Critics say the brigade's training goes against one of the founding principles of our country, separation of military and civilian government. Luis Schiavone has our report.
They've spent 30 months on the streets of Baghdad. Now the 1st Brigade Combat Team of the Army's 3rd Infantry Division is back in the USA. The Army Times reporting, quote, they may be called upon to help with civil unrest and crowd control or to deal with potentially horrific scenarios, end quote. The question arises, why? And isn't that what the National Guard does?
Infantry brigade is designed to engage an enemy with maximum effective force and destroy it. That's not the sort of thing anybody wants to see in the streets of the United States.
Almost 5,000 strong, the brigade is based at Fort Stewart, Georgia, under, quote, the primary purpose of this force is to provide help to people in need in the aftermath of a WMD-like event in the homeland, so that were they called to support civil authority, those governors or local state jurisdictions that might need our help, that they would be responsive and capable in the aftermath of an event like this, end quote. On Capitol Hill, questions about how the Pentagon determined that a thinly stretched military with 2 conflicts underway could spare these troops.
That's a misuse of assets. Those assets can be deployed, I think, more efficiently somewhere else when you have the Guard that you can call up on a moment's notice.
Historically, the posting is unusual. In modern history, Army troops have been used at extraordinary junctures. Under the first President Bush to contain the 1992 riots in Los Angeles, under President Lyndon Johnson in response to Detroit's 1967 riots, and in the grips of a depression by President Herbert Hoover to contain Army veterans demanding their bonuses. All actions, says historian Robert Dallek, undertaken by
unpopular presidents on edge about their capacity to lead, to vote public support for whatever it is they think needs to be done.
Lisa, the Army Times journalist tells us that the story has generated intense public interest, and 4 weeks into a flurry of questions about the report, the Army finally contacted her, and they requested that she publish a clarification that containing domestic civil unrest was not part of the 1st Brigade mission.
Luis Schiavone, thank you very much for that report. The American Civil Liberties Union is demanding information on the Army Brigade's deployment. It claims, quote, this deployment jeopardizes the long-standing separation between civilian and military government.
Kill. Time is running out.
Prophecy is an easy thing to commit. For rarely is the prophet brought to judgment.
No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authority.
The year of our Lord 2000.
Leave this area immediately. Leave this area immediately.
The wall would become a symbol.
Here then is a story about a tomorrow.
Understand what has happened and why.
The explosion of...
Here then is a story about a tomorrow.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Kill.
News is not just about markets. It's more about people, and David joins us here.
Charlie, as you know, this morning's steep declines on Wall Street had Americans with already battered 401ks fearing another nightmare day in the markets. That's because many average investors are no longer simply watching the declines. They're being forced to act. Bloomers putting off retirement and retirees forced back to work. Regina White can no longer afford to simply ride it out. At 68, this is not how she planned on spending her retirement. Looking for help wanted signs anywhere she can find them.
Now hiring.
She's been retired for a decade, living off monthly payments from her 401k, an account that's plummeted $350,000 in just a few months' time.
It goes through my mind that I've not only lost money, but I've lost years of my life because I can't provide for myself.
She's filled out more than a dozen applications, but the phone is not ringing.
I'm being interviewed by kids who could be my grandchildren. and I'm also in competition with kids who could be my grandchildren.
And it's not just retirees who are facing tough choices. Many boomers who thought they would retire soon can no longer.
If I were 55 or older, I would make it plain to my employer that 10 more years.
In a new study, 63% of Americans have now stopped contributing to their retirement plans, fearful they'll lose even more money. And 1 in 3 American households now has less than $50,000 in investments. Retirement plans have taken a huge beating.
Essentially, they've been halved in value in 1 year.
Mark and Kelly Udy own a small construction company outside Charlotte. They can no longer afford to contribute to their employees' retirement accounts. Just meeting payroll is hard enough.
And how many employees do you have total?
We had 72. Now we have about 30.
That's more than half you've cut.
Yep.
They have fewer jobs to offer, which is why trying to find one is so daunting for retiree Regina White as she watches her 401k shrink.
You're not making it back. It's going to take a lifetime.
And economists say we're going to see more of this. Retirees who don't have the time for their 401ks to recover in this economy, they need the money now. And the boomers who were planning on retiring and now having to put their retirements off, Charlie.
All right, David Muir, thanks very much.
Here we go again, I smell a new world order. 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 That looks like your future's history. Now why you dissing me? Cause it ain't no mystery. On the outside peeking into your free ride. No way we go win. Cause it's the beginning of the end of your liberal friends who sometimes pretend everything's changed. Wow, nothing's changed much. Don't y'all know this is
The terrifying future. The terrifying future.
this century.